As you continue to finish your lunch, we're going to go ahead and get started with the lunch discussion session. Perspectives from the field, a conversation with practitioners. To help me to do this, or actually maybe to do it himself, I'm going to invite Dr. Tierney back to the stage, so come on up, sir. And let me introduce to you the panel as Dr. Tierney walks up. Over the past 3 decades, Karen Delaney has served in a number of capacities at Pendleton County. I shouldn't have eaten that dessert. My mouth doesn't work. High school. She has taught English, served as associate guidance counselor, as well as assistant principal and curriculum coordinator. In 2004, Mrs. Delaney returned to the guidance department as the head of guidance services and continues to serve in that capacity. In this role, she most worked directly with juniors and seniors and coordinate guidance programs. In addition, she has sponsored numerous student organizations, served on multiple committees at the local and state level, and served as a site coordinator for the School to Work Tech program. In 2004, Mrs. Delaney was honored as the Kentucky Association of Principals Assistant Principal of the Year, and in 2003, she was named the National Outstanding Administrator of the Year by the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. Welcome to the stage. Adam Hall serves as the AmeriCorps Kentucky College Coach at Pendleton County High School. You should never try to say this word after that yellow stuff in your mouth. He has twice graduated from University of Kentucky, where he has earned his master's in secondary social studies education in 2011. Welcome, Adam. Bob McDermott is the Northern Kentucky Outreach Counselor for the Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority. Bob has been working in the field of higher education for 28 years. He spent 20 years in college admissions, both in New England, and 7 years as Director of Admissions at Thomas More College in Northern Kentucky. He was on the Application Review Committee for the Governor's Scholars for 3 years, and also served as President of the Kentucky Association of Secondary and College Admissions Counselors. He is in his 7th year with KIA and the student loan people. So welcome to the stage, or welcome to the lower stage. Yeah. As I go back to eat the rest of that dessert that caused me not to be able to speak properly, I'm going to ask Dr. Tierney to take over the session. Thank you.
We also want to create some dialogue, for you to hear some dialogue between ourselves and Dr. Tierney, and some reflection back and forth about things we're doing and things he had to say earlier, but also I think we're hoping that we'll have some questions or time that you can talk with us. One of the places we thought would be helpful is to start and talk about who we really are. You heard Dr. Thompson in the introduction, and I appreciate all of that, but here's who I really am every day if you came to visit our school. I serve as guidance counselor, and I guess, dubbed director of the services. I'm really the senior guidance counselor in a couple of ways. Senior in the oldest in our office, senior in terms of, I guess, the longest amount of tenure as well at Pendleton County High School. But in our department, just to give you a profile of our school, there are 2 counselors. My colleague is with me today. We have a registrar, and we also were thrilled 2 years ago to have a college coach, and this year that college coach returned to school to work on his advanced degree, master's, and Adam came on board as a college coach. So we've been really pleased to be able to be a part of the initiating year of the college coach program in Kentucky, and then to continue with that and be a continuing school. And they're very valuable. We'll talk about that a little later. The counselor duties in our office, it's kind of unique the way we divide them. I know some schools go alphabetically. We're divided by grade levels. So I work primarily with the upperclassmen, and my colleague, my associate Carrie, works primarily with the freshmen and sophomores. That works really well for us, but we're also very good at sharing the students and supporting each other in a collegial way with what we're doing. So we know a little bit. We have our own areas of expertise, but we also know a little bit about each other's job. My role primarily, though, is in planning and coordinating activities and also serving as a liaison with outside agencies and support groups, particularly with post-secondary admissions counselors and working really closely with KIA. A little bit just about our school and community. Bob and Adam suggested I share this so you would know more about Pendleton County. If you're not familiar with us, we consider ourselves the southern part of northern Kentucky in the greater Cincinnati area. We have the trio of counties to our north that are more associated with northern Kentucky, but we're kind of their kindred spirit at the south of that. We're about 40 miles away from Cincinnati. It's a rural area. Most parents, though, are not employed full-time in agriculture anymore because that's just where our culture has led us. Most of them actually are in manufacturing, and they commute out of our county. 60% or more daily commute to northern Kentucky and make that drive. So they have an extended day, and that's something that makes our services unique because our parents aren't with us during the day, and we have to be sensitive to that and aware of that. Also, about the adults in the population, we have data tells us we've got about 60% of our adults that have a high school diploma or equivalent, plus some perhaps, but only about 3% have an associate's degree, about 10% a bachelor's or higher. That bachelor's or higher we know is a rate about half of what the three counties to our north report. So we're trailing behind those others in our geographical area there. 56% of our district students participate in free and reduced lunch. We also know, though, that only 49% of our high school report that, and we still have a sale there because of pride and many other things with those older students. We know that should be a higher amount. So I guess when you look at our school, you'd say the majority of our students are going to be first generation college attenders and goers if when we get them there into post-secondary opportunities, and half or better are in some way economically disadvantaged. So those are some things kind of unique to us. I want to say we're really pleased to be here, and certainly as I'm talking, I'm a practitioner, but no wizard. You know, I wish my job came with crystal balls and magic wands, and that would make life so much simpler for us. Most counseling offices I know are like this, but busy is the word that describes our day. Because of that, I've become over the years more opportunistic in my role, and therefore, when I get an opportunity to work with folks like Bob McDermott of KIA as a resource, and we get an opportunity to have someone like an Adam Hall as a college coach, I am going to take advantage of those opportunities and seize the moment, and that's just experience because there's nothing there that I want to be selfish about with our students. I'm willing to share the responsibilities and also invite these people in with their expertise to serve. So that's really where we come from. I will note that we have a handout that is posted to the conference website that gives you just a rough, very general calendar of our years, a timeline, so to speak, kind of our guidance plan as we approach activities relative to counseling services, in particular college going. And then we also posted, per Bob's recommendation, I do a senior newsletter. I don't think it's that unusual, but it really is a resource. It's called our Senior Slate. The counselor prior to me had started that. We kept the same title, and it really is a mixed bag of everything. So he suggested, though, that he found that it's unique perhaps to our school and that it would be something you might be interested in seeing. So that's going to be on the website just as a sample of something we put together. It's a great communication tool for us. So having said that, I guess I'll turn it over to Adam as college coach. Oh, wait a minute. Where are the college coaches in the room? A round of applause for a stand-up. Before we go any further, I want to mention them. Adam has been so valuable. I know you are also valuable to your schools and sites, and so I just wanted to be sure. If you have a chance, if you haven't met and talked with any of these college coaches, make your way and talk with some of them about their experiences when you get a chance today.
So, again, I'm Adam Hall, and I've served this year. I'm an alumni of Pendleton County High School. Mrs. Delaney was my guidance counselor, so that has sort of been a unique situation for me. What I love about the College Coach program is that each of us comes from a different walk of life. You know, we all have different experiences. Some of us are not at our home high schools, so there's a great learning curve for those people, whereas I was able just to jump right in. Last year, the college coach was a good friend of mine, and so he was able to help me in this role and give me some advice, and it's really just been a wonderful opportunity to work with students 9 through 12 and talk about college access, and to work with Bob McDermott.
Okay, that was quicker than I thought, but I'm ready. Okay, again, I'm Bob with Kia. You heard the bio. I started as an admissions counselor in 1984, and now I'm doing this Kia outreach work, and I absolutely love it. I mean, the work every day is directly with folks like this and students and parents, so I just love what I do. I have to mention also I'm a dad, and the dad comes out in me a lot. Any of you who have seen me with my presentations, I have a senior at UK, a soon-to-be freshman at Northern Kentucky University, and my baby girl is a sophomore. Well, just finished sophomore year of high school. So I bring that perspective a lot to the work that I do. But I'm basically, like all of our outreach counselors, here to help these folks. And there's a couple things that were said at your seat, and I'm just going to point a couple things out. This flyer, the College Access Challenge Grant flyer, just gives you kind of a background in terms of what we do as outreach counselors. And in one page, it summarizes our work. And you could just go through it, and just you could see the state there of Kentucky is divided up, and my area is what someone called the vanilla section. Vanilla section at the very top, the Northern Kentucky area, and that's where I work with Pendleton County. So what I do with Pendleton County High School, we schedule, we're going to attempt to schedule for this upcoming year, but literally if you look at the slate, the calendar that was posted, you'll see that I'm at Pendleton County High School probably a couple times a month. And I have about 30 or 40 high schools in my area, and so I'm there quite often. One of the things I do a lot of, again, one of your materials, is our presentation guide. And most of the presentations that I do in here, or that are in here, I do those with Pendleton County High School. So you can look through that to get an idea of what I do there. One of the presentations is basically introducing our website, kia.com, to the students. And so we kind of show them how to do it, how to research there. We create an account, we look up their Key scholarship, and then we try to get them hooked into the College Cost and Planning Report, which allows the students to put up to 6 schools, 6 colleges that they're interested in, and they can get a report that is about 40 pages. I did it with my son, who is a senior this year, completely detailed, free, that gives them the breakdown of financial aid, what they're likely to receive for each school, and then just a profile of each of the schools. The other thing I do would be exhibits. So I'm there, if I'm not doing a presentation, I set up a table and provide information. One of the main materials that we use in our presentations and our giveaway would be this, called the College Circuit. And really, it pretty much has everything that we talk about and use in financial aid. And it's in our work with Kia and the schools. And it's actually broken down into segments that's usable for the middle school students, as well as the high school students and the parents. Another new publication we just started this year. I love it because it's kind of a capstone to what we do throughout the year, is this piece called Surviving College. And it's a new publication for us, but basically it's now saying, okay, you seniors, you're going to leave and go on to college. Here's some information about trying to help you get through that freshman year. And that's where the dad really comes out in me. When I've done these presentations, even the students, at the end I ask, do you have any questions? And they all look at me. And I went up to one guy at a high school and I said, how come you don't have any questions? He goes, you are one serious dad. He's like, wow, you were like my dad standing up there. But that's the way I am. Anyway, the materials are also at our website. So Kia.com, to me, should be on your favorites list. And you go there, if you need information, it's there. If you need to get a hold of us, you can contact us and get our information there. And then if you need materials, all of our materials are there. You just fill out a form and we ship it to you for free. And we have posters and all these, and many other publications as well. I'm probably going too long, but real quick, another thing I do is what we call a Kia Counselor Day, where I come in and they set up appointments about 20 minutes apiece. And, we talk about doing our presentations, but this is one of my favorite days because I can sit one-on-one with the student and maybe the parents. And literally, if they say 8 to 3, it's 8 to 3 every 20 minutes. And the parents show up too. So it's an excellent opportunity. And, when I do all this stuff, the other thing I like about it is the multiple visits I make there kind of establish familiarity and a relationship as best I can with the parents and the students. So by the time January comes around and we do the FAFSA completion workshop, where we have their computer lab and we say, come on in and we'll help you fill out the FAFSA, that's pretty sensitive information. So they don't want some guy walking around that they really don't know. Well, by then, they know me as Bob. I mean, the students call me Bob, the parents call me Bob, and when I'm there to help them, along with these folks, and it's, Social Security numbers and that kind of information, it really helps that I'm there so many times, and I know my colleagues would agree. And then just general phone and email support. And the last thing I'll mention is, we're doing a lot of work at the high school, but I think has been mentioned so far today, it's not just that work. When I go to Pendleton County, I do a lot at the high school, but the middle school is an important part of what I do. So I'm at the middle school 3 or 4 times a year. And again, in the presentation guide, there's a middle school presentation. And particularly in my case, when I get those 8th graders, they're just about ready to go to high school. And I think Dr. Tierney mentioned that retention factor, or they leave, that's pretty pivotal right there. So we do that. Work with the elementary schools too. Now in that case, it's not too much and I met some of our elementary school folks last night at dinner, but it's never too early to get to them. And so I do what's called Ready Fest, where literally I'm there handing out information about college savings plans. And then we have a Kia activity book that's like a kind of a fun, almost like a coloring and quiz book with nice coupons on the back, just to get kids that age starting to think and their parents about college. And then I work with the adult ed centers too. So in terms of the work with the high school, it's also kind of pre-high school and then also with the parents in the adult ed centers. I think that covers my introduction. So.
Okay. Dr. Tierney, if you want to.
Dr. Tierney is next.
Did you ever see that movie, What About Bob?
Oh.
So now you know. So this really sounds like terrific work, and it sounds like they're doing exactly the sorts of things that I was saying this morning. And I know we're almost out of time, so I want to jump to the future just for a second. Let's assume that I come back in 10 years, 2022. We're all a little older, hopefully, given the alternative. We all hope to be older. Some of us may have gray hair or admit to it. But think of that. So 10 years from now, are we doing more of the same? We've worked harder, the economy's better, so it's pretty much we're doing the same stuff. I don't think so. And, you know, an interesting segue into this, in that movie, the quote at the start and the quote at the end was by Leo Buscaglia, who happened to be a faculty member in my School of Education at USC, retired before I got there. And as you know, with faculty, you know, you always bargain when you go to a place, how many courses do I need to teach? And Leo Buscaglia, you know, you might have seen him on TV. He taught this amazing class, very warm, loving guy. And he taught in the one auditorium we have on campus, 1,500 students. And at that time, in terms of distance learning, there was a machine that would broadcast it on PBS. And I said to my dean, when he told me how many classes I was going to teach, I said, well, does Leo Buscaglia teach those many classes? And he said, if you can teach a class of 1,500 students and then go to PBS, we'll talk. Until then, you're teaching 4 classes. So that was technology 20 years ago, 17 years ago. Where are we going now? And I mentioned this today at the end, and let me just give a minute on this. There's an idea called disruptive technology. And the idea of disruptive technology is that there's 2 kinds of changes. One is sustainable and one is disruptive. Those of us who are old enough can remember a manual typewriter, and then they had an electric typewriter. And we all went, hallelujah, because it did what we wanted to do. None of us who got that electric typewriter were saying, gosh, I wish there was a computer that I could use. The electric typewriter is sustainable technology. The computer is disruptive technology. And it starts really slow. It starts with a couple of nerds in a garage. And there are other nerds who find it kind of interesting. And it's kind of clunky, but it's enough that it gets better. And then people buy it, but it's really kind of expensive. And then they throw all the money back in, and it gets better and better. And then all of a sudden, we see Smith, Corona, and Olivetti no longer. And we have these new places called Microsoft and Apple. And it happens like that. And a lot of us right now think that education is like that. That's what I referenced this morning. And that's what I think about when I think of 10 years from now. Are we being prepared in terms of how disruptive technology works? You can see this throughout America, actually, that we went from the telegraph to the telephone like that. And again, no one with the telegraph was saying, geez, I wish Alexander Graham Bell was inventing a telephone. And people thought that the telephone would never work. And all of a sudden, everybody's got to have a telephone. And think back in terms of those of us who started with electric typewriters and how fast it became that we all have computers and laptops and iPads and iPhones and all. Oof. So what does that mean for us? What does it mean for our schools? What does that mean for our colleges and universities? What does it mean for our students in particular that they're not left behind in terms of the digital divide? And then what does it mean for us, because we need to be leaders in this whole thing? You know, I tend to think in my own field, and forgive me because I'm in Los Angeles, but I think of this in terms of Hollywood and Charlie Chaplin. In 1920, Charlie Chaplin produced, directed, wrote, and starred in films. He did it all. I'm kind of Charlie Chaplin. At my university, I write the syllabi, I produce it, I direct it, I absolutely star in it. Right? The question, though, is, can I continue in that vein? So the question for me is, Bob's final comments were great in the sense that, what is it that we do well that cannot be replaced? And Bob's a father. That's what comes through. So what are those things that, in terms of disruptive technology, is going to take over? And what are those things 10 years from now that are essential to what we do, and how do we prepare today for that? So that's all I've got to say.
I'm not sure where we're running on the time and everything. That kind of comes back to one of our thoughts early in reflecting with some of your comments about the use of technology and the impact we're seeing. And I think in guidance offices and in schools, more and more, we've got to look at those opportunities, like you said, to create those opportunities. Whether it's getting more laptops or computers in our guidance offices, so when a student wants to apply for college, it's there. Having more online in the transitions online nights, where, as Bob said, you can bring parents in, but it is changing the face of what we do. I think one of the points that you're making with Bob and with the college coach, and with all of us in the schools, technology I don't think will ever replace that part of the connectiveness and the support we give emotionally to people. And that's one of the things I think when we talk about our model of collaboration that's really so important. None of us can be all things to all people. That's why we need each other in our field. We need our colleagues. We need the support group. The most important thing I've got to talk about the college coach here is, for our office, when you have guidance ratios that we discussed this morning, where you have one guidance counselor to 400 to 600 students in a school, there is no way that we can reach in meaningful ways all of those students. And the college coach has been so helpful, because when we have those, it enhances the connectivity in our office. There's also a comfort zone in his age relative to my age in working as a near peer to some of those students. They feel much more comfortable, some of them, with him. Some like it when they have the mom and me, but they also like having this person who's closer to them in age that they can relate to and that they know are very close to that college experience and having experience. So there's that. And the other thing that I think the College Coach program has done for me is it has raised a level of consciousness of being sensitive to addressing those students that sometimes used to fall in the cracks, and by having a place that I could send them. And the most gratifying part is when you get to that point in the year where the students come in and they ask for the college coach rather than just the guidance counselor, which is awesome, because that means he's fit into our culture. They've accepted the coach and the coach's role, and they know that's a place to get that direct assistance. And the same way with Bob McDermott, and the fact that in our community he's there frequently enough, and we fold him into our program, that he's not just somebody that drops in. He's Bob, and it's so right. They do. That's when they call and they ask. It's not that guy from Kia. When's Bob coming back? When's that next program you got on the calendar that he's going to be there? So I think that's when I guess you begin to know that while there's always ways to improve, some of the things you're doing must be right, because they're somehow being acknowledged. Some of those programs have at least arrived, in your culture and your community.
Thank you. Let me try to surmise a couple of points in about 30 seconds. Everything I've heard today and so far, and those of you who are out there really touching the students, and those of you that are out there that's touching them indirectly, there's items that I heard in all of our panelists that points to this. Resources are resources coming from a variety of folk that may actually be close to them in age. It may come through the assistance of technology. It may come through the assistance of being parent-like. It may come in a variety of ways, but bottom line, it needs to come. The idea that if we create a holistic process to reach the whole student, we're going to be successful. The idea that if we are trying to set up somehow a monolithic element to make sure that we reach the whole student, it won't work. I was listening to Dr. Tierney talk. I mean, forever, as a faculty member, I was the purveyor of all knowledge at all times to all people. And I had, quote unquote, complete control. And in the beginning, no one ever taught me that it was about the student. Everybody told me it was about me. You know, no one taught me how to teach when I was in graduate school. They told me if I get the PhD and I become a great disciplinarian, I would be a great engager, that people will love to hear what I have to say. I could become the ultimate sage on the stage. The idea that it is about what we do and how we do it to reach students from all different kinds of backgrounds. It is about how we do it in the sense of the word, knowing who our students are and knowing that, in fact, they're coming to the table with a variety of experiences. It's knowing that if we take the time to get to know who those students are and their experiences, we're going to have a greater chance of connecting with them, and they will have a greater chance of actually listening to what we have to say. The idea that, although I'm an African-American male, I don't know if you all know that, but I thought I'd tell you. I just found out not too long ago that I had far more European ancestry than I originally thought, so I'm going through a racial identity crisis now. The idea that if we kind of classify ourselves as only mentoring and caring about people that kind of look like us, we will fail. If we cannot look at ourselves as being there for all the students all of the time, then we cannot give the kind of assistance or resources that we need to give them in order to help them to be successful. Yeah, we need access, we need knowledge, we need to have home pages that point to what the folks need, but we also need to have the attitude and the wherewithal to become coaches ourselves, to help other people in our school systems and in our offices next door to know how they can engage the student and not just be a sage on the stage. I thank you. I thank all of you for bringing your knowledge to the table, and I thank you guys for being here, and we're getting ready to break for our next session. I think starts in 15 minutes. Enjoy.